Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That is Public Access TV. My name's Dirk Keller. Bob Boyd's back in town. Welcome back, Bob.
Good to be back, thank you.
Pat White's here, and always good to have Pat here. Thanks for being back. And Earle the Pearl Murphy's with us again.
Yeah.
Good to have you back, too. It's been a couple weeks.
Looking dapper, too.
He always does. He's a haberdasher.
Didn't he look dapper? That purple sweater and the
Yeah.
olive corduroy slacks.
Not bad. Well, it was a good weekend to be a Hawkeye. Holy cow.
Great.
It was a good
For
week.
sure, yeah.
Sunday especially. All three Hawkeye teams, the men's and women's basketball and wrestling, were in action. And all three won big games. We'll start with the men's basketball team. Their record now is 15-8 and 6-4 in the Big Ten Conference. I'll be honest, I did not have them doing this well at this point in the season. And I'm enthused. They had two big wins last week at Michigan, which was a blowout.
Dominating.
Yes. And then Maryland, which I think at the time was ranked 17th, maybe?
Right, they were.
Yep.
Yeah.
They come to town and just get blown out. That first half was, I think, without a doubt, the best half they played. And, you know, the Michigan game before that was the best game they played, but maybe Maryland was even better.
But it's amazing what shooting well can do.
Yep.
I mean, they shot over 60%,
Both games.
both those games, and I mean, you can beat Kentucky if you shoot
So
60%.
best shooting percent against Maryland. Best shooting percentage since Fran McCaffrey's been the coach.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
64.
64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
And a lot of those points are in the paint, in the
Well,
lane.
Adam Woodbury, Mike Gazelle, Peter Jock are playing the best basketball they've played since they put on an Iowa uniform.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep.
And this team is looking good.
They really are. And it's funny because Gasell injured his right elbow, his shooting elbow, before the Michigan game in practice.
Yeah.
And I think there was an article somewhere today or yesterday that he's playing better since he injured his elbow.
Yeah, that's ironic.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, but you know what? It also looks good moving forward. We hate to get a little too confident, but you know, with Minnesota coming in Thursday night, and then we go to Northwestern, and then we play Rutgers here, they've got an opportunity to win 3 in a row. To add to the 2 that they've, that'd be a nice stretch run for them.
Well, not to be too much of a homer, but
Why-
if you look
why
at
not?
that schedule,
That's right.
they have an opportunity to sweep. I mean, the toughest game on that schedule is at Indiana.
That's the sort of talk that will drive Fran up the wall.
Sure.
That's true.
You got to go a game at a time.
You do, but I looked at it.
But it is true.
You got Northwestern
Yeah.
twice. You got Illinois at home. You've got Penn State, Rutgers. You've got a lot of the bottom feeders.
Well, at least the bottom division,
Right.
half of the division, bottom half of the conference, but what scares us all about talking like that is remember the football schedule.
Well, remember last basketball season.
Yeah,
Well-
we're gonna have a better, with our football schedule, we were just gonna roll. It didn't happen, but
No, it didn't.
After you get past Wisconsin, the league's pretty even.
Yeah.
that's very true.
And so,
yeah.
although the schedule looks more favorable,
Yeah,
I think you can justifiably say we could lose any of them.
and how many teams?
If the shooting reverts back.
Yeah,
If the shooting drops back down in the 40s,
yeah, then it changes things.
if
doesn't it?
suddenly Woodbury's not in double figures.
Yeah,
He's really played well.
He really has.
Oh, he looked great.
He's asserting himself, and Gasell is asserting himself.
Yeah. Gazelle, starting against Purdue on the road, Gazelle took over that
Yeah, he
Purdue
did.
game at the end.
yeah.
He's played aggressive, gone to the rim, not taking bad shots. Fewer turnovers.
I've noticed, too, when he drives to the basket, he's getting that shot off and in before the opponent can block it, which is what they were doing a lot of.
He's
previously.
giving himself a little space, instead of right at the rim, he's out a little bit,
Yeah.
and he's putting the ball up high,
Yeah.
which helps him avoid the block.
Yeah. And he's getting a lot of praise from the announcers. They rave about his
He deserves it.
leadership skills on the floor.
This is the Mike Gazelle we thought we were going
Yes,
to get.
yes.
We've
when
been
we
waiting for this
recruited
to
him.
happen.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point. And Woodbury's becoming the player we've been hoping
Yeah.
we would
Well,
see, too.
he's becoming closer. He's
Yeah.
never going to be the player we hoped he was going to be because he doesn't jump.
No.
He's not. He doesn't play much above the rim, but he's been terrific.
And it's the little things that Woodbury brings that you don't really notice. Defensively, he's a beast.
Wow.
He's a
White's
physical
not
presence.
too bad, is he, fellas?
Who?
White?
Oh no, he's-
Aaron White, and
Yeah.
he's coming around. It's like that injury at Wisconsin never happened.
Well, and he just in the Maryland game, he now passed AC Earle in free throw attempts, and it's more important what your makes are. He's already made more free throws than anybody in
Right.
Yeah.
the history of Iowa basketball. But if you talk about attempts, that's a skill. It doesn't just happen. His aggression in driving to the basket and being able to move around the basket is what gets him fouled a lot.
That's right.
And then when he gets to the foul line, he makes them.
And he's got such a pretty shot
yes.
from the free throw
Yeah,
line.
very nice touch.
Very nice. So it's been a real pleasure to watch these Hawks. These last two games were really the best we've seen all year.
Well, and they remember what happened at the end of last year better than any of us,
Yeah.
and they want to make up for that. I have a feeling they're going to do that. I think we're going to have a good ending of this regular season.
Well, let me just point out that last year they lost 7 of their last 8 games. And we are at that exact point in time that we were last year. They've got 10 Big Ten games under their belt. They've got 8 more left. Now, last year, those 8 games included the one NCAA tournament game, but
Yeah.
8 regular season games left, and I'm telling you, every one of those is winnable.
It also included a Big Ten tournament game. They were one and done there.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And was it Michigan State that I think it was. It seems like it's
It
always.
seems like we always play
Yeah.
Michigan State.
Doesn't it though? Yeah.
And you know what? I hope we get a crack at them in the Big Ten tournament.
Well, let's wait a game or two.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm
I
anxious
think
to
they're
do that.
beatable. I think they.
Well,
I
on a
think
given
they're
night they
beatable.
Well,
are.
they've struggled.
Yes.
Hey, they're 15-8 or something like that as
Haven't they
well.
lost several in a row?
Yeah, they are on the verge of losing. They've lost 3 in a row. Is it at home?
Who, Michigan State?
I don't know if I
I
got
think
that
they may
right.
have lost 5 in a row altogether. And Travis Trice hadn't scored 30 as he did against
Yeah.
us.
Well, they beat Northwestern
3 or 4
last night.
games combined.
They did win last night.
They killed Northwestern last
Yeah.
night by
Yeah.
25 points.
Northwestern is just plain bad.
Oh, yeah, you wait till Sunday, they'll be hot.
Yeah.
When we get there?
Oh, boy.
What time is that game?
That game on
2.
Sunday is at 2 o'clock, and the game tomorrow night is at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Minnesota comes to town tomorrow night. Now, let's think back on that game at Minnesota a month ago. That was where Iowa had a big lead and then let Minnesota back in. Minnesota took the lead, we got it back, had that miracle shot by Utah, if I'm not mistaken, to tie it up and send it into overtime, and we won.
Yeah. We were up by 17 in that game.
Yeah.
Is that right?
This is a good Minnesota team. They're not a
Yeah, oh,
great
yeah.
Minnesota team, but I think they match up well with Iowa. And I think their coach, what's his name, young
Richard
Pitino.
Latino, is probably a pretty good coach.
Oh, Rick.
Sure.
Yeah, and they'll be ready. So it's going to be a heck of a game tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, and then Sunday at 2 o'clock. And both those games are on the Big Ten Network.
Okay,
so that's
good.
nice. While we're talking about Hawkeye basketball, I think we should talk about, the Hawkeyes have a new nickname. It's the Pokeyes. And it's gaining momentum.
There are T-shirts out there.
There are. And after Sunday's game, when the talk should have been all about blasting 17th ranked Maryland, the only talk that you could see nationally was about Adam Woodbury poking another opponent in the eye for the 3rd time in whatever it was, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I don't know about you guys, but we're going to talk about it. I don't think for a minute he did it on purpose, but I think he's really clumsy, and he better be real careful from here on out.
Yeah, my take on physically what happened is he unfortunately had his hands down when Trimble drove.
Right.
And he realized he had to be the one to stop Trimble and brought his hands up one of them right into the Trimble's eye. He's got to play with his arms in the air.
He really does. And he's got to know he's a marked man now.
Yeah,
Well,
if he
he
gets
is.
another
I mean,
poke, he'll be
The
suspended.
referees called him for a flagrant one. Now, the
Yeah.
definition of flagrant, as I understand it, is intentional.
True.
And so, at least in theory, the referees labeled that eye poke as intentional.
Which-
Now, it wasn't.
Which flagrant is worse, 1 or 2?
2.
Okay. Well, I just don't see how they can call
I
that
didn't
intentional.
get that at all. I mean, clearly it's a foul. There's no question.
But they didn't
Oh,
call it a foul.
Well, they did.
Eventually.
After they reviewed.
After the Hawks went down, picked up the loose ball and hit a three-pointer.
I think the most unfortunate part is not even Woodbury's poking him
act,
in the eye,
yeah.
but Fran's post-game
Yeah.
conference and behavior was just bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
And
Well, he was trying to defend, in a sense, Woodbury because he didn't believe that Woodbury did it intentionally, and neither did any of us. But again, it goes back to media sensationalism. They're looking for a story. They're looking for that question
He
that
gave it
stirs
to 'em.
everybody up.
He gave
And he gave it to him with
the,
his
the question. I think he insulted the reporter who asked what I
Yeah.
thought's a reasonable question. A reporter
somebody from
saying-
Des Moines is who asked it.
WHO.
Yeah.
Why does it keep happening? That was the essence of his question. I think that's a fair question.
Yep.
And Fran called
What,
that.
that his third major fall?
Yeah, third
Well,
eye
it's the
poke.
third time he's poked somebody in the eye. And-
First time he's been called
Instead
for
of
a foul.
giving a reasonable response to that and defending Woodbury and saying it was unintentional and he's a good kid, he insulted this questioner by saying, that's ask an intelligent question, implying that the one he just asked was not. And then Mike Kalas said, why was that not an intelligent question? And Fran dug in his hole even deeper
Yes.
by saying, because I said so.
And you know, there are now
There are T-shirts that say that.
T-shirts that say, because I said so.
Well, then on the post game, Gary Dolphin.
Yes.
You know, then he was starting to ask the same question. I don't remember exactly how, Dolph, he's not going to try to insult anybody. I mean, he's an Iowa fan, obviously. And Fran said, that's just stupid. Don't ask a stupid question. Let's move on. And he was mad when he answered
And
it.
didn't Dolph try to bring it up again, or
Well, I didn't hear that part of it.
there wasn't a second?
But
Okay.
But the thing is, maybe he did, but I thought, oh my goodness, to do it to Gary Dolphin too, just was inappropriate. And, that's where we're at with this thing. And now, one of these days, I mean, we've talked about it before, we don't like Fran, but that temper of his is just keeps digging him into a bigger hole, deeper hole with the media.
I thought he could have stood to apologize to Gary Dolphin on his radio call-in show Monday night.
Or the
Did he apologize?
WHO guy. No.
No.
In fact, he doubled down. On the radio show Monday night, I think he re-insulted the reporter from WHO.
Oh, really?
By again describing it as a not intelligent question. And he claimed that they were trying to bait him to criticize the referees, which is not true at all.
That's my point, too.
Either he
That's-
wasn't listening
Yeah.
No.
or he's making this up.
Yeah. He was listening, and I think it's a convenient cover, but it's not accurate.
It's not accurate at all.
No, it wasn't about the ref.
He did a couple of national interviews between the post-game conference Sunday night and the radio show Monday. I didn't hear him, but I've read descriptions of him in which he was very reasonable and answered essentially the same question in a very reasonable way.
Right.
And why he...
Well, that's good at least.
Well, but then by Monday night,
Yeah.
he was back to don't bother me with non-intelligent questions.
Well, we better hope moving forward that Adam doesn't accidentally poke somebody in the eye again, or it'll really get ugly.
It will. And,
Yeah.
one of the national talking heads, I forget the name, but said Fran's a bully. Said he's a bully. The only people that talk like that are bullies. He was trying to intimidate the reporter. And it's hard to disagree. I don't think he's a bully, but the response was very bully-like.
It was Bobby Knight-esque.
Yeah.
Is my
Yeah, there you
description.
go.
And that Bobby Knight approach or behavior is not going to work at the University of Iowa.
Well, okay, let's talk about that a little bit then. If you have a coach that's a little out of control, if you're an athletic director, you better take control. And you better have a talk
Yeah.
with that coach, because they are representing the University of Iowa.
And if Gary did, we'll never know
No.
that. I mean,
Of course not.
He'll treat
But-
it very privately, as
Yeah,
he should.
and as it should be, private.
Now, in Fran's behalf, this has been his calmest year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, whether he's controlled himself or going through what he and Margaret went through with his son is bound to change your life and change your outlook on life.
Very true.
I agree.
Make you realize family priorities and what's important and what's not, and maybe that calmed him down. But he doesn't have a technical.
Nope. Or even close to one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, he may have came close once or twice.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, and we hope he doesn't get any.
Well, and he did this. This is
Yeah.
relatively minor in the scheme of things, but there was a home game where he
Yeah.
slammed his water bottle into
Oh,
a
yeah.
wastebasket right behind the bench and scared the bejeebers out of Matt Weitzel, who sits right there.
Yeah. Well, it'll blow over as long as we don't have any more eye pokes. And,
Yes, that's right.
Well, here's one of the risks of the eye poke controversy, and I've heard a couple people say Woodbury needs to be careful. Well, as soon as he starts being careful, that changes his defensive posture and aggressiveness, and
Yeah.
so there's a risk that he's going to shy away from the defensive prowess that we've seen from him to try to avoid it. And as soon as he lets up, then he's not going to be as good a defender as he's
Do you
been.
think he's been told that by the coaching staff?
Well, I'm sure they've discussed it with him. Either Fran or I think we heard Kirk Sparrow say something like this, and I've heard Fran say something like this in one of his news conferences, that we don't teach that, it's accidental.
Yeah.
We're going to talk with him, we're going to work with him, but there's not a heck of a lot you can do, other than, I think, keep your hands up.
That's it, Pat. What I see in each of these eye poke incidents is Woodbury thrusting his hands
Yeah.
forward instead of upward. He
Okay.
thrusts them right at their face. And I guess I've never been taught when I played to do that. And it looks as if the intent is to block the vision so
Yeah.
the man with the ball can't see who he's passing to. I get that, but I still think arms straight up is more effective. You could still block vision, and you can block a shot. I don't think he's able to effectively defend a shot if his hands are forward, kind of like a magician
No.
doing the
No.
hands forward.
One of the things that happened in the sequence over games is his, just before he poked Kaminsky in the eye,
He patted him.
he rubbed his head,
Yeah.
and quite on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be intentional.
Yeah.
And then as he pulled his hand back and re-extended, he poked him in the eye.
Yeah.
And that rubbing the head just makes it look bad,
Yeah.
because that's such an intentional act.
Now, all you guys have seen a lot of basketball over the years. I don't remember so many eye pokes. I mean, I know it's occurred. I've seen it.
happens. So, I talked to a guy who was at the West game, girls' game last night, and
Waller?
she said one of the Waller girls got poked in the eye. It happens.
It does.
Oh, yeah, it
I mean,
does.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wore goggles for most of his NBA career because he kept getting poked
That's
in the
right.
eye, and it's dangerous. You can lose an eye. You can certainly,
Oh, boy.
if
yeah.
nothing else, you can really inhibit that player's ability to continue playing the rest of that game, because if you scratch an eye, it's going to water and swell up. And, I mean, look what it did to
Well,
Trimble.
Trimble, he had to sit out close to 5 minutes.
They had to put an ice pack on his eye.
Well, it's a rough game. It's physical and it's fast, and I don't think if you were aiming for that eye, you could hit it.
That's, yeah.
I mean, as fast as they're moving and shaking, I just.
Do you think Iowa runs as fast as anybody?
Yes,
Hmm.
I do.
yeah. I think we try to run more than most teams. And I think that's the style of offense that Fran
Yeah.
wants. And that's part of why, I mean, that's part and parcel of the improved shooting, better defense. When you make a shot, you've got a better chance to get back. When you're rebounding, you can run.
Yeah.
And Woodbury, he passes well.
Yes, he does.
He had 6 assists up in Michigan. Passes very well.
Great outlet passer, too. Strong arm.
Yes.
He can get it down the court
Yeah.
quickly. Iowa does run quite a bit. I don't think they're as fast as most teams. We just don't have the athletes.
Now, that's
a lot of
running
these
is
teams
Adam
do.
White's game.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
He's tremendous when he gets out on the break, either on a steal or on an outlet pass.
Yeah. Well,
He's really skilled around the basket. It's like a pretzel. He can get that ball in the basket from almost anywhere if he's within reach of the rim. And sometimes, even if he's outside reach of the rim, he can scoop it in.
Yeah.
The ball, he banks it off the backboard a lot of times.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I'm trying to teach my son how to do that. It's amazing how many things you take for granted in the game of basketball. I see a bunch of 8th graders, and not a one of them knows how to use the backboard.
Backboard can be,
Oh.
yeah, that's a good way to
I'm trying
teach
to
a
tell
kid
them
how
it's
to
your best
shoot.
friend when you have
It's your
the ball
best
in your
friend from an
hands.
angle, either side, you know, that's right.
Use it.
And I'm surprised a lot of Hawkeyes that the ball goes in when they use the backboard.
Yeah, that's what it's there for.
Especially those high ones.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
one of the things that Gazelle has been doing. That's
Yes.
improved his scoring and his offensive game around the rim.
We've got another Hawkeye basketball team that's doing wonderful things lately. The Iowa women's team ranked as high as number 13 this week. They had a couple of huge wins. Their record now is 19-4 and 10-2 in the conference. They had a big win against Ohio State here in Carver Hawkeye, and that Ohio State team scares me. They that little, she's not so little, but the point guard they have, the left-hander, what's her name?
Mitchell, Kelsey Mitchell. Sure, yeah.
She's got the prettiest three-point shot I think I've ever seen.
Well, she shoots a long ways out. She only made one when she was here.
Just one?
Yeah.
I thought I recalled a couple.
We shut her down. She only had 15 points, and 4 of them were free throws at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
She took 6. She only made one of them.
It's a pretty-looking shot she's got.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
she's going to be good. Of course, you know the story about why she's there.
Her-
The new Ohio State coach,
Yeah.
he's been the coach a couple of years, hired her father 2 years ago when she was still in high school. He'd never coached basketball.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No,
Oh, you didn't know that?
no,
Yeah.
not a coach.
I had no idea. He was a piece of work at the game.
Yes, you could hear him all over the arena.
I've never seen an assistant coach who gets up and not only gets up and yells like a head coach, but is as loud,
Yes,
as
he
Pat
is.
pointed out.
Yeah.
He's a big, heavy-set guy. And I really didn't pay much attention to him in the first half, and we got there late anyway. But when he was walking off the court at halftime, I went, "Oh my God!" He looks like Wimpy. He's got this great big belly.
He already has some difficulty walking.
Yeah, he could.
Going to have trouble as he
Yeah.
is.
But he could bellow.
Well, his daughter can play, that's for sure.
And she's just a freshman, right?
Yes.
That sounds like when Larry Brown hired Danny Manning's
Yeah.
father
Yeah.
at the University of
Yeah.
Kansas in the late 80s to get Manning to go to Kansas. I mean,
Yes.
Dad had never coached
Never coached.
basketball.
that's amazing. Gee.
Now, he may have coached AAU, coached his daughter, I don't
Yeah.
know, but he never held a public coaching job.
Well, he sure yelled a lot. He never seemed happy with anything.
And the team seemed to listen to him.
They're not a bad team, and the Hawks beat them, and
Yep.
they beat them well. It was a dogfight.
They're
That
hurting
game,
for depth. They only had 7 girls who could actually play.
really good.
They had a couple in
I was
sweats.
going to get a pretty good job against Ohio State in basketball. We beat them 3 times.
Yeah, you're right.
Do we play them again, Pat, this year? I mean,
I don't think so.
regular
No, I
season.
think we're done with them.
That's good. We've always had difficulty, but
There are just 6 regular season games left for the women.
yeah. Now, speaking of that, Lisa's got to be getting pretty close to 300 victories, isn't she, for University of Iowa wins, Pat?
You know, I don't know that figure, Bob.
It seemed to me she would
did
have
go
like
over-
278 or something going into this year. Does that sound right?
That put her
You can
right.
check that out.
We'll check that out for
Yeah.
next week. Her,
Yeah.
I think was it last year she went over 500 or over 600?
For her career,
Yeah.
total career. I was just talking Iowa
Right.
victories, yeah.
Lisa and her staff have just done incredible things, and I'd have to say, at least to this point, it's the best season they've ever had here at Iowa, coaching wise.
Lisa's team.
Yeah, right,
No,
right,
Vivian had some teams that
right.
would.
No,
Well, they set
Compare
a record
favorably.
for victories, didn't they, last year, 27 or something?
But
Yeah.
this team has 3 very talented seniors, both in
Yeah.
terms of basketball and leadership. And
you
True.
got to start with Sam Logic.
you ought to be playing well when you've got that. And
What
they-
she
they
get,
do.
30 points last
30 points at Wisconsin, her home state.
Yep,
And again, it's never easy to win on the road, men or women, in the Big Ten. And they went up to Wisconsin and thumped them. Well, they had a big
In the
lead,
end-
and then they
in
let
the end.
Wisconsin back.
No, Wisconsin led all of the
Yeah.
first half except for the last. I mean,
But didn't the Hawks got a big lead then?
yeah.
And didn't it get narrowed right at the
It
end?
got narrowed toward the end when she
Yeah.
she wanted to play reserves, and it ended up getting down
Is
to
that what? Okay.
14. when-
See there, I was.
But we didn't see it. We
No.
just heard it on the radio, and you wouldn't have known if you didn't stay on KXIC after the wrestling match. I mean,
Right.
I had the wrestling match on the radio, and the only advertised radio broadcast was that low power station in Cedar Rapids, which even during the day you can barely get. But as Stephen Grace signed off, I wasn't near my radio to shut it off, and all of a sudden I'm hearing Brent broadcast the game.
Oh,
exactly
okay.
how I
Nobody
fell into
had
it.
listed that or advertised it. And Brent, in fact, I talked to Brent Monday night. He didn't even know he was on KXIC.
Really.
Oh,
He
really?
thought their only broadcast was 1360 up in Cedar Rapids.
You know, I met yesterday with a representative of Learfield, and I asked him just what you're talking about. He didn't know.
Well, it's a local decision.
And
I
he-
know that.
Yeah, he said
It's a
something to
station
that
by
effect.
station decides what they're going to carry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the Cedar Rapids station gets permission to carry it when WHO, WMT, in fact, I think WMT is probably the key, is not broadcasting. And they weren't because the men were playing at the same time. And actually,
It's fun to
About an
turn
hour's
that
difference.
radio on when games going on TV.
well, the only problem with that is they're not synced.
Right.
That's right.
The TV's got a delay.
TV's
Yeah.
about to play behind.
yeah,
I like it.
yeah.
You know when it works well is wrestling. If you're listening to Ironside and watching on TV, it's, for whatever reason, it's not as bad. The delays is long. Same kind of delay. But
I never know.
I don't know why, for me, it's not as upsetting as when I watch wrestling, because you get a little inkling ahead of time what's about to happen, and you know the move. You know what he's actually, was that a cow catch or single leg?
He is so much fun to listen to.
Ironside,
Oh.
yeah.
He and Stephen Grace are a great pair.
They do a good job.
Stephen does a nice job of broadcasting, and Ironside is just terrific. He's
Yeah.
worth the price of
Have you
admission.
eaten out at a restaurant?
No.
No.
Ironside
He
owns
has
an
a
apparel
clothing.
store in
Yes.
Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
And it's doing very well. He does a lot
And
of
the
custom
announcer,
design.
is the owner.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah,
Stephen
West
Grace
Branch,
has
yeah.
Yeah.
the sweet shop in West Branch.
Yeah, that's right.
I've taken the kids there a couple times after
Is
my
it-
son's games.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's a little tiny joint. It's, it's your basic small town ice cream shop with a grill.
Yeah.
And every time I've been there, it's been busy. And when I talk to Stephen, he's, business is good, even in the winter.
Yeah, good.
The food was good. My kids liked it. It's nothing fancy at all.
Is Stephen on the grill or his wife?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Well, his wife's got 2 little ones at home.
Oh,
so
I see, okay. Yeah,
I don't think she's working down there. But Stephen, yeah,
yeah,
he'll do it all. And he's got other people too.
good.
He's got staff, so he can go spend time with family or be on the road. He has to if he's going to
Sure.
chase the Hawkeyes around. And
Well, now, Mark Ironside's apparel business, that's only a couple years old, isn't it?
yeah, But again, it's doing very well. He
Good.
does a lot of custom design stuff, and he's got a relationship with the athletic department, so
Yeah.
he can do a lot of things. You know, he has permission to do a lot of things with the Tiger Hawk logo and such.
Sure.
And he's creative enough to come up with some ideas of his own that nobody else has.
Yeah.
And I've talked to him about it, and he does a lot of mail order business. A lot of fans from around the country, heck, from around the world, will order online from him because what he has is unique. It's not just wrestling stuff. But if you want, singlets for your little kids,
Yeah.
you can't find those just anywhere.
I was talking to Dan Gable
Uh-huh.
at Monk's birthday party,
Mhm.
which was quite nice. And and he was saying that Putin, the prime minister of
Oh, Russia. Yeah.
tried to get a hold of Gable.
Is that right?
Yes, and he had his man in Washington D.C. or somewhere get a hold of Gable
One of
and
his emissaries.
said that Putin wants to know about a certain thing, and Dan said he was modest about it, and
Oh, he's modest about most everything.
Yeah.
yeah, but it was quite interesting.
Maybe we should send Dan Gable over there.
Does Ironside still go in the wrestling
Yes.
room and get down on the
Yes.
mat?
Does he really?
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Absolutely. Which I think is what is one of the things that makes him such an outstanding and unique announcer, because he knows these kids intimately. And when I say intimate,
Yeah.
I mean he's on the mat.
How old is he now?
I'm going to say about 35.
At least, don't you think?
Yeah.
I'll
That'd
say
be an
38.
interesting to know how old he really is, yeah.
Well, now let's see. Did he wrestle for Gable? I think
thought
he
he
did.
did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then he must be more like 40.
I was gonna say he's close to 40,
'Cause,
38, 40, right in there, yeah.
Yeah, I said 38.
Yeah,
Zaleski was here, 5 years as head coach, and then Brands has been, what are we talking, 7?
7.
Well,
Zaleski 5 or 6.
15.
That's 13,
Yeah.
14 years.
He's upper 30s at least.
Yeah.
Really
Graduated
good.
probably when he was
He's
22 or 3.
He's in great shape, and he's in that room a lot.
Say, you're a big wrestling fan. Why don't wrestlers have either numbers or names on their singlets?
That's a good question. They do in, not numbers, but they have names.
On their warm-ups?
No, international.
No?
Those will have names. In fact, when we shot that Super Bowl ad with Tony Ramos, his singlet had his name on the back of it.
I think that would be an advance for wrestling.
Yeah.
Go to something that helps identify people.
That's true.
But I
You
mean,
know-
there's got to be some historical reason why they're not there.
That's a good question. That'd be a good question for Tom Brands.
Tradition.
Or Dan. Good question
yeah.
for Dan.
Yeah. I really couldn't tell you. I'm thinking of high school and college. I've never seen a college or high school team with names, let alone numbers.
That's true.
Well, we got sidetracked. We were talking about women's basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The women have a game tomorrow night, Thursday night, at Nebraska. This is a very big game.
That's 6 o'clock.
No, it's at 8.
8 o'clock.
You'll
Both
be able
games.
to
Oh,
watch
good.
the men play Minnesota, and the women come on the Big Ten Network right after the men.
It's
Yeah,
not 6
both
o'clock.
games are on the Big Ten
Oh,
Network
wow,
tomorrow
that's
night.
great. Yeah,
Who plays at 6 o'clock?
The Hawks and Minnesota, the men in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
yeah. At 6.
And again, both games are big. This women's game, though, I think is really big. It's a road game against an opponent they've already faced, and that game here was just a real tough battle.
Beat them in overtime.
Yeah,
And the first time the women have beaten Nebraska since they've been in the Big
that's
Ten.
right. I forgot about that. They got one monkey off their back.
Yes,
now
they
let's
did.
beat them on the road. It's going to be a tough task.
Oh, yeah.
The star player for Nebraska is a gal named Terrio, who I think looks like olive oil from Popeye cartoons.
She's thin, but boy, she can score.
Yeah,
She can
she's
play
tough.
defense.
She's
Yeah.
really something. Rumor is that she's injured.
Bad ankle.
Well, no, it's more than rumor.
Oh.
She missed a couple of games,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody knows if she'll be back for us.
No. Well, it's going to be a difference maker if she's out. We'll see.
For sure.
Big game tomorrow night for both the men and the women. And then Sunday, the women have a home game. And that's going to be Indiana. Didn't Indiana beat us twice last year?
No.
Once?
I can't remember.
I couldn't either.
How's Indiana doing this year? I don't know.
I don't think
They're doing average, but they've changed coaches 2 years ago, and they're on the upswing. They're starting to get some Indiana recruits.
Now that game's at 5 o'clock,
Yeah, very strange time.
and there's no TV for that game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No TV.
Well, there's in their wrestling meet that afternoon.
There is.
There is.
Takes-
Well, in fact, there are 2 wrestling meets Saturday. Wait a minute. I got to get this
Don't we
straight.
wrestle here Sunday afternoon?
Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock.
And they need
Yeah,
time
that's-
to clear and set up before they open the doors to
Yeah.
basketball.
Right.
So why couldn't they play that game on Saturday? If it's not going to be on TV, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But the wrestling versus basketball schedules are made up independently, and then you got to juggle if
And-
they end up
There were-
conflicting.
That's a home game, Sunday at 5 o'clock. Strange starting time. I don't like it, but oh well. We were talking about the starting seniors on the women's
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Sam Logic is, you don't replace somebody like her.
No, she's now on watch lists for 2 or 3 All-American type honors. 20 or 30 players in the whole country, and she's on those lists. She's leading the Big Ten in assists again. She's like maybe second in the country in assists.
At one time, didn't we get beat by somebody real bad?
Louisville.
Louisville, and the next game
Yeah.
she was a star.
Yeah. Her 30 points at Wisconsin, again, we didn't see this. This is only from broadcasts and reading reports. Would appear to me to be in part because they were draped all over Melissa Dixon, which opened up some driving lanes down the middle with people getting outside to shut down Melissa, which they did.
She had 1 2-point basket, and that was it.
She is now the fourth all-time three-point shooter in the Big Ten. Should easily get to third place. Pretty much a long shot to get to second or first, but she's already our all-time career three-point leader. She'll probably end up a little over 300.
She's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
my.
She got the quickest release
Yeah.
I've ever seen on a basketball
Yeah.
court, men or women.
Yeah. And that's a difference maker.
Yeah.
But that's not all she does. She can drive the lane. She can score under the bucket.
She's a good defender.
Yeah, and a very good defender, good passer.
How tall is Melissa Dixon?
Well, she's
5'8".
listed at 5'8". I think she's probably closer to 5'7".
Okay.
She's not a tall girl.
Yeah.
No.
And one of the ironies, as good as she's turned out to be in the stratosphere regarding three-point shooters, she was a gray shirt offer to start with.
Is that right?
Oh, jeez.
They were holding back a scholarship for Kia Stokes.
Oh.
And Melissa got
Oh,
a scholarship only after Kia decided she turned us down to go to Connecticut.
I'll be done.
Melissa was the 5th scholarship in that class. She didn't start her first 2 years.
Oh.
She filled in for a few games when Jamie Prenti was hurt I think her sophomore year.
Yeah.
And she started last year and this year. But she's still done these amazing things in terms of three-pointers.
I got to
Wow.
sit next to Jamie Prenti the other night at the game.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
She and her husband. Here's the funny thing. I didn't make a fuss about it. I was at the game with my 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And we left, and we're going up the steps. And in Carver Hawkeye, they have these big columns at the top of the steps. And they've adorned them with different Hawkeye basketball
pictures
and
of-
wrestling. And there's Jamie Prenti. And my daughter says, "Hey, that's Jamie Prenti. She's my favorite player." And I went, you know that was her sitting next to me, don't you? What? She was so disappointed in me. I
Yeah.
really let her down. I didn't say
Introduce
anything to
her.
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know her husband is an Iowa City boy?
Yeah. Is he related to Tom Brandt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a nephew of Tom's.
A nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His dad is John and Debbie.
John. John's the painter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a Regina boy.
Debbie is Harry and Marilyn Rogers' daughter.
I see where Regina got a new vice president.
Yeah, I saw that.
At the elementary school, they got a vice principal of the
Right.
elementary
Vice president,
school.
that's right.
25-year-old.
Yeah.
We can't forget to talk about Bethany Doolittle.
Right.
Another senior, senior center, 6'4".
Yeah. Oakdale, Minnesota.
I have to be honest, her freshman year, I thought, what a waste. You know, it didn't look like she could walk and chew gum at the same time. And she has come a long way. She's got a
Right,
pretty
right.
shot. She disappears at times in games and gets in foul trouble at times. But she's done some heroic things when the team needed her most. That's a sign of a winner.
Well, she's been more consistent this year, though, hasn't she?
Oh,
guys?
very
Oh,
much.
very much so.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, she too didn't become a true center until last year. She played a little bit as a freshman, backing up Morgan Johnson, but not much.
Right.
Yeah.
And then her sophomore year, they moved her out to the 4 position still because Morgan was still the center and they wanted her to play. And so it wasn't until last year that she became a back to the basket true center, spending her practice time working on traditional center moves.
Yeah.
She's really come through big time.
She's got a
she's
pretty
hard
shot.
to basket.
Yeah.
She's got great moves. She can go to either direction, pivot. And the other day at the Ohio State game, she stepped out to just inside the 3-point line, and I'm thinking, no, don't shoot out there, Beth. We need. I'm thinking we need you under the basket to rebound it. She swished it from like 17 feet. She's really got some skills.
And she also is a very dependable free throw shooter.
Yeah, she is.
That's impressive for
How far
a big
is the
woman.
3-point line?
19?
19, I think is right. They moved it a foot about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Used to be the women's line was a foot inside of the men's.
Right.
They took out the.
Well, just what you said there, Pat, though, about where she came, and you were discussing from a freshman to a senior, is a testament to our coaching.
Yeah, it is.
Lisa and her staff do an excellent job, and that's just a real good example of it right there.
And it says something for Lisa and her staff because not only have they been together ever since they got here.
Except for
talking-
Lacey. That
Well,
position
yeah.
has turned over
Yeah,
the
but-
fourth
Yeah.
assistant position.
Jenny and Jan have been there, and it's clear that this team, year in and year out, is fundamentally sound and as well prepared for the opponent I think, better than anybody. You can see it when a game starts. It seems that Iowa knows just what the opponent's going to do offensively, and I'm just amazed.
Well, and the compliment I hear all the time from the fans is they're fun to watch.
They are.
You know, and great balance. That's a
It's a
strong
great-
suit of Lisa's team.
Great atmosphere over there, too.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
team is well balanced.
Yeah.
That's one of the keys.
And it's deeper than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got more depth this year than we've had for a
A
while.
long time.
and knock on wood,
Yeah.
Nobody's gotten
no
that bit of serious
injuries. Really,
Sam,
yeah.
Sam came close when she
She did.
Yeah,
Tweaked her knee.
injured her meniscus, but she gritted through it.
She did.
Didn't miss a game.
yeah.
And, you know, Sam Logic is one of those players who, it just seems that when you need her most, like the game at Wisconsin, she shows up.
Well,
She
yeah,
fills
Ohio State
in-
player
Yeah.
that everybody loved to hate.
Samantha Prahalis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a lot like her.
Well, she's as tough as her, but she's not nearly as demonstrative.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or over the top. I admire Sam's ability to size up an opponent when Sam has the ball in her hands. She just doesn't seem to make too many dumb mistakes. She is so good with the ball in her hand, whether it's in the paint or around the perimeter and either dishing or passing or just putting the ball up. You can count on her for a three-pointer, a 10-footer, a free throw. I mean, she's not perfect, but we're gonna miss her.
30 points, that's awfully good.
Yes, it is.
Well, let me ask you this, when Sam Logic graduates, and next year, who will handle the point guard duties? Jennings?
Whitney? Yeah.
Probably would, but we've got, one of our signed recruits is even, if you can believe this, even shorter than Witt, point guard from just outside of Flint, Nia Davis, who's a candidate for Michigan basketball,
Wow.
and pretty darn good point guard. So be one of those two, either Witt
Yeah.
or Davis.
Okay.
But next year, my own prediction would be Buttonham will compete to be a starter. Either Chase Coley or one of our signed recruits by the name of Megan Gustafson from Port Wing, Wisconsin, which is as far north in Wisconsin as you can possibly get. It's right on the shores of Lake Superior.
Is that who Jan went to see
Yeah.
this weekend?
Yeah.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, that was, and she's, if you saw the pictures, you saw that she was a good 3 inches taller than James.
Oh, my.
So she's at least 6'3", maybe 6'4",
Yeah.
averaging over 30 points a game. The night Jan was up there, Friday night, she had 30 points and 19 rebounds.
Wow.
But it's a lower class, so she's
Yeah.
not playing against the top competition in Wisconsin. But they're going to need some minutes from her next year.
And she doesn't look like a beanpole.
Yeah.
She looks like she's got some
Little muscle on there.
yeah.
And
shape.
Chase Coley has got great offensive skills, and she hadn't shown it because Lisa doesn't want her doing this, but if you watched her in game time up in North Liberty last summer, she can shoot the three. Her defense needs improvement.
And
Will she be a
rebounding,
5 or
too.
a 4?
She'll be a 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what they're trying to play her at.
Yeah.
She and Claire are backing up Beth.
Okay.
But Claire is the first substitute at 5. She's playing totally out of position, but she battles in there.
She's so tough.
She's a junior, right?
She doesn't back
Yeah.
down from anybody. Yeah, she's a junior.
And you know, she's a very pretty girl.
Yeah.
And as pretty as she is, she's even tougher. She is nitty gritty, doesn't back down from anyone, sticks
Yeah.
her face where you probably shouldn't stick a pretty
She's
face.
got good hops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think she fears anybody.
No, she doesn't, including officials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets her in trouble. But I really like her game. And
But
next year.
she knows she's in for a limited number of minutes, and she plays with aggression, and she picks up some fouls, but she knows that it's not critical whether she picks up fouls or not. 'Cause she'd rather foul somebody than let them lay up the basketball.
What size is she, Pat? 5'9", 5'10"?
No,
she's
she's
6'3".
right at 6 feet, 5'11",
Okay.
6 feet.
And she's not skinny either. She mixes it up with anybody.
Yeah.
She's just hard-nosed. I like that about her. I really do.
Yeah.
I think she's done a nice job.
Yep. We probably should keep moving here a little bit. The wrestlers. We touched on the wrestlers. They steamrolled Maryland last Friday night at College Park. Maryland's program they have a long way to go. There may have been a couple hundred people at the meet. And then Sunday, the Hawks went to Penn State.
Yes.
Sold out,
Yeah.
Bryce Jordan Arena, 16,000 plus,
Isn't that something?
and they did it up. I forget who I was talking to, but Penn State does wrestling well.
I think they had smoke coming out.
They
of
did.
something.
They had the
And we're introducing the wrestlers.
each individual wrestler. When he came out, he came through a cloud of smoke.
Yeah.
And then a spotlight, a darkened arena, and then he goes through the crowd, and then he turns right and cuts through the crowd to go up on the stage to the mat. It kind of looked like all-star wrestling.
Yeah.
You know?
One of the things I didn't understand about that setup, the basketball court is not elevated. It's
Right.
a regular floor level, but the wrestling
What?
Matt,
They,
was
they
elevated.
built a stage.
Yeah.
Do they do that? Well, they only wrestle in there once a year, don't they?
Right, once a year. And, that's how it's done. Like for the NCAA's, the finals will be on a stage. And I think the Big Ten is the same way. They put the finals on a
Doesn't Ohio
stage.
State do the same thing, smoke?
I think so, Earl.
Yeah, I think
they do.
Yeah.
Because they normally wrestle in their own arena there that's specific to wrestling,
The
isn't
old
it?
basketball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody told me the other day that this year the Iowa Hawkeye wrestling team has a chance to wrestle in front of
100,000.
100,000 people. And no wrestling team has ever done that before.
In a
No
month.
collegiate wrestling. Is it a
Wow.
month? Oh,
Oh, that couldn't be.
I don't think a month. I think it's over the season.
Okay.
There's just never been a collegiate wrestling
No,
team
that's right.
that's had
Wow.
that kind of attendance over a season.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
But we only have one more meet, don't we?
We just have.
No.
Okay.
It's a little confusing.
All right.
But first I want to talk about the Penn State meet. Penn State isn't the same team that we've grown accustomed to the last 4 or 5 years. They lost a lot of talent and came into the meet Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, 5th ranked. But boy, oh boy, did they take it to the Hawks from the get-go. And they won a lot of matches that they were not
lucky-
favored to win.
They were lucky to win some of those lighter weights with the way it went.
The match with Moore, I thought, had a moment where Moore was given a takedown on the edge of the mat and then
Yeah.
it was taken away.
Yeah.
And there's some discussion of whether that was the right call or not. It would have changed the outcome of that match. But as Tom Brands will tell you, Moore's got to do a lot more
Yeah.
than he did. There were a lot of disappointing. I don't think anybody Sunday at Penn State for the Hawkeyes looked ready to wrestle. They didn't shine. And if you listen to the post-meet summary by Mark Ironside, he told us that the workout room at Penn State was cool and dry. And when these kids were trying to cut weight before the meet, they struggled, and most all of them had to work additionally to cut that weight because of the elements in the workout room. And then they looked like it. Every one of them looked pretty sluggish out there.
But don't you think that the way Penn State won, they were lucky maybe on a couple of them.
Yeah.
And come the Big Ten and the Nationals.
Yep. They're not. I don't think they're a good tournament
No.
team. They aren't. They matched up well with Iowa, and they rose to the occasion. They had a big crowd, a big deal,
Yeah.
and guys like Mike Kelly, who lost his first match of the year in his home state, no less. You know, he's a senior. He was the last undefeated wrestler on the Hawkeye team, and he got beat on the last second move. And he just didn't look like himself, and Corey Clark didn't look like himself.
Cool and dry conditions in their warm-up area. Sounds kind of like a pink locker room. doesn't it?
I think it might have more impact than a pink locker
I
room
suppose,
would,
yeah.
At least for a wrestler.
A little strategy by Penn State there, I'd say.
Here's the bottom line. The Hawkeyes beat Penn State on the road, and they remain top-ranked, undefeated, and this Friday night, 7 o'clock, Michigan comes to town. That's going to be a good meet. Michigan's got a lot of ranked wrestlers, and the Hawks should win the meet, but
So we have 2 home matches this weekend?
yes. Yes, we do. Friday night at 7 o'clock with Michigan, and then Sunday morning, or is it, no, Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Neither of these wrestling meets are on TV. So you have to tune into AM 800, KXIC, and listen to Stephen Grace and Mark Ironside.
Which is fun.
I'm sorry?
Which is fun.
Yeah, it's always good.
Well, if we win, however, if we beat Michigan, are we the Big Ten undisputed champs?
We already are.
Oh, we already are, okay.
Because it would give us one conference loss and we beat all the other teams, like Ohio State, Penn State, and Minnesota.
Who's going to beat us?
Nobody
Okay.
in the Big Ten.
So we just win it, and then it's a done deal.
Done deal. And then Virginia comes to town Sunday.
Non-conference.
Non-conference. It's the first of the national dual meets. Okay.
Okay.
I gotta say, it's strange timing. It's
Yeah,
part of something larger, isn't it?
it is. Next weekend, Iowa will also host the national duels. There'll be
And this is an elimination match. Theoretically, the winner
Yeah.
moves on.
right. So next weekend, on Saturday there'll be 2 matches, and then on Sunday there'll be 1.
And so there are like 8 other of these?
Yes, 8 others. And you're going to see next weekend teams like second-ranked Missouri, undefeated and really good.
Were these teams all picked before the season
Yes.
started?
Well, I don't know if they were picked before the season started, but they were all picked ahead of time. I don't know when. So there's
So this
Minnesota will
is a
be
national
here.
duels tournament that's
Correct.
separate from the NCAA season-ending
Correct.
national championship.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
NCAA doesn't have a dual national tournament like the Iowa High School
Right.
Athletic
I'd
Association.
like to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you enjoy that guy that interviews the players after the
I do.
match?
And the wrestling?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I love him.
The high energy guy.
Sean Sparks.
He's
I love him.
funny. He's funny.
Okay.
But I'd like to meet him off camera.
He's high energy.
Yes, is he that way?
Oh,
I don't know. I've never met him.
Just when he's on the
You're
air.
high energy. to
He
put it
he works
mildly.
for Flow Wrestling, which is a website that does a lot of good things for collegiate wrestling and international wrestling.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he thinks it's a good idea to be hyped and up and loud and I think it works. He does he does a good job of it during Big Tens and nationals when things are coming to a head.
Yeah.
When it's really there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
But I get what Earl's saying. It's a
Now,
little hard.
You didn't tell us if you liked him or not.
I don't like
No,
that.
he doesn't like it. I don't mind him. It's nice to have a little extra energy there. Guys, we've just got a couple minutes, and I wanted to mention, we just learned before the show started that former UNLV, Las Vegas, basketball coach Jerry Tarkanian died today. He'd been sick with a couple of things, and I believe he was 83 years old. Ironically, go ahead.
Well, he's responsible for one of the deepest wounds in my heart
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
history of college basketball.
Well-
we had him buried, Tom Davis's team, and
Up 20-plus points at halftime.
March of
in
1987.
is that what it was?
Yep.
I was there,
Yeah.
courtside, in the Kingdom in Seattle, and at
You were?
halftime, yes, I was in press row covering it for KRNA Radio, and I wanted to mention it because Dean Smith sat next to me,
Really?
and
Wow.
he was a perfect gentleman. His team had been beaten out. This was the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So the Hawkeyes had won their
Semifinals.
first game against Oklahoma, and Vegas had beaten Wyoming with Fennis Denbo. And
This was the Elite Eight game, what they call
Yeah.
the Elite Eight game.
yeah, so if the Hawks beat Vegas, they
We're
go
in
to
the
the Final
Final
Four.
Four.
And we're all making plans at halftime. All the reporters, everybody, you going to New Orleans? Yeah, I'm going. You bet. Oh yeah. Well, the Hawks end up losing.
With an 18-point lead at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, Dean Smith, he's unlike any other NCAA basketball coach. My dad always greatly admired him and used him and John Wooden as examples of gentlemen. And Dean Smith sat there courtside the whole game, smoking cigarettes. Front row, right there on the court.
How tall is he?
Short. I don't know, 5'9", 10.
By the way, that's why he passed away this week at 83 also,
Yeah.
maybe.
Smoking cigarette.
Well, he quit.
Maybe
but,
because he was smoking, yeah.
I hate to say this, but we're out of time.
Okay.
This has been a really good show. You know, it's a
Yeah.
good one when it goes so fast, and this
Right.
one did. Bob, it's really good to have you back.
Good to
Earl,
be
you
back,
too.
guys.
It's always great to have Pat White here. I want to thank Joe Murphy for everything he does behind the camera,
Yep.
and we want to thank you for watching every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and every Sunday night
How
at
about
6
yourself?
p.m. on Channel 18.
How about
My name
yourself?
is Dirk Keller, and I want you to remember this. Either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. Whoop 'em good every which way this week, all right?
And don't forget Earl the Pearl and amen.
Amen.
Amen.